indicator you would expect a loading indicator to be, and then it sort of just animates there in the center. I think maybe we'll do that. I do like my sort of ducks in space theme, but maybe we can have ducks in space for this placeholder image, and the loading indicator can just be a duck in the middle of the screen. Anyway, the other reason that I wanted to do a bonus stream today is that there's been this sort of looming amount of work that needs to be done that is sort of not strictly speaking coding. It's just finding some way of capturing all the data that we need to get in the app in terms of text, and finding a way to get that in strings tables. Which is not like super riveting stuff. So I figured maybe we can take an hour to get at least some of that done, and then that'll allow the app to function mostly in the way that we want it to when we actually get back to coding it next Friday, and just kind of have that done in the background, because it's, as I say, it's kind of just a lot of copying and pasting text and maybe doing some stuff in Sublime to format things how we want them formatted. So yeah, let's try that and see where we get with that. I've got about an hour until the end of nap time. So when our daughter wakes up, it is time to get back to normal Sunday life. But yeah, we'll take some time to basically do a bunch of copying and pasting and moving strings files around. And hey, Wondermoo, welcome. And see how that pans out. So yeah, I'm just gonna take 2 seconds to close this door to make sure that I'm not making too much noise, because also that could be a danger. So just a second, I'm gonna have some more riveting television as I switch over to my screen and then go silent for a second to close the door. In the meantime, enjoy this Castlevania 4 music. Okay, the door is closed, so we can actually start working. So what I'm going to do is just start putting together these strings dictionaries. So I think the way that we have our app working right now, you can see that I've already sort of started this system where I've got like skull.title, knight.title, ruin.title. So my plan had been that I would create strings tables named after each of the cards, and then I would consult that strings table for the string that I wanted at any given time. So every card is going to have a title and it's going to have rules text. Now the real trick is that I would like to have the option to support multiple versions of D&D. So theoretically each card could have multiple rules text strings. So that could make our strings files pretty big, but we'll see how that is. So in terms of editions of D&D, I guess it's worth mentioning too that there are like a bunch of different editions of D&D that you like might not think of. So there's D&D first edition, then there's AD&D. So I'm not sure if the Deck of Many Things existed for like actual original D&D, like OD&D, I guess. It certainly did for AD&D, so we definitely need that one. That's the first edition. Let's open up Sublime Text and so we need to support first edition for sure. Second edition. So the other gotcha with these is that these were never released under the Open Gaming license. So it still thinks it's an HTML document. So it can I just make it text? Because I don't want to open all with current extent. Whatever. Okay, I'll leave it for now. The ampersand can be highlighted for the moment. So the catch with these is that they were never released under the Open Gaming license. So any rules text that we have for them is going to be something that has been filtered through another system, through the OSR, the Old School Renaissance. So people have if you're not aware of this, people have taken the editions of D&D that were released under the Open Gaming license. That's 3rd edition and 5th edition. And they have gone back and made what they call retro clones out of them. And retro clone, is plain text an option there? I didn't see it. I was looking for text. Plain text. Haha, there we go. Thank you, Rock Pusher. So people have made retro clones of the earlier editions of D&D. And so they've taken the versions that were released under the Open Gaming license, and they have reverse engineered the older versions of D&D out of those without copying any of the text directly, and using only 3rd and 5th edition terminology. Clever. So that's we would be using retroclone text for these, so that we have basically a license to use it. So I think that this is going to be from Osric, which is the sort of like very vanilla original, like hacked together retroclone of the earlier versions of D&D. And then for 3rd edition, we have access to for 3rd edition, we have access to the SRD, so that can just be from the SRD. I don't think we're going to support 3.0. I don't know if there are any material differences between the Deck of Many Things and 3.0 and 3.5, but they're so like easy to convert between that I don't think it's a big deal. And then there's Pathfinder, and I kind of do feel like Pathfinder needs to be supported. Again, we have an SRD that we can get text from there. I don't know a lot about 4th edition because I never played in like a 4th edition campaign, and I don't even remember if the Deck of Many Things existed in 4e. So that's a big question mark. If so, we would need to find again some. I understand there are some 4e retro clones, so we would need to find a version of the Deck of Many Things that had been presented in a 4th edition retro clone, so that we could use the text from it. And then 5th edition, as we've already seen, it has been has a system reference document, so we can use whatever's in the system reference document and just copy and paste it. I think the priority is to get 5th edition working, and then we can go back and get the earlier editions as well. Definitely the easiest ones to do are going to be 3.5 Pathfinder and 5th, because they just have SRDs that we can take the text from directly. So let's try this. So we need to create strings files for every single one of these cards. And there's probably an easy way that I can automate that, but I'm not actually sure what that is. Probably it would involve a shell script, and it would probably involve so much input that it wouldn't actually be worth it. So I guess I'll just do it this way for now. So we'll create a new group here called resources. Oh, you know what? Before we do that, we should commit the stuff that we did last time. So let's make sure that everything that we put in last time is committed. All right, we were working straight on master, so we will branch first. What is the, like, how do I create a new branch off master in this UI? Create new branch from master. Great. We'll call it add. It was the carousel that we did last time. No, it was right. We refactored out the refactor out. It doesn't really matter what this branch is called, because we're just going to merge it right back into master. So we should just commit these things directly to master, like bad people. So what do? We created the draw view controller, and then we created the setup view controller and then refactored everything into it. The easiest thing to do, just because this is so wide ranging, is just say split draw controller into setup and draw : controller. Sloppy. Sure. You want to keep within this limit on the number of characters in your first line on a git commit, just so that it doesn't wrap. It's not that big a deal, but all right. Now let's create a new branch and call this add strings tables. This is gonna be boring, but that's okay. Yeah, we'll check it out. All right. Big slops. Okay. So now we can go back in and say, all right, create a new group. We're going to call it resources. And we're going to reorder this. Sort by name. Oh, wow. We really needed to sort that before. Theoretically, we should be moving some of this stuff into resources as well. Let's start there. So assets, it should be able to find, I think, this will break if we do this. Oh, no, don't do that. Ah, now we're loading and breaking. But I put it in the wrong place anyway, so after it's done breaking, we'll need to move it again. Big slops. So we want this in resources. Okay, so now this should break. So what we want is we need to change where the app thinks its info.plist file is. That's what I want. So we need to change where it thinks that is to deck of many things / resources / info.plist. And then we want to make sure that it can find launch screen.storyboard. And the asset catalog. So we want it to know where we've put these things. So hopefully this should not be broken anymore. Let's try running it and see what happens. Okay, that's fine. Not gonna worry about that too much right now. Providing we're running. Might have to go back and fix that later because I feel like. Oh, so. What do you mean unassigned children? Like they're not assigned, but there's nothing there. I don't know. I don't know what it's doing. In any case, we'll come back to that later. what I mainly wanted to accomplish was cleaning up our file so that the resources are in the place where you would expect the resources to go. Let's just try adding an asset here. We'll rename that. Nope, did not mean to add it twice. And just say let's image view equal image view, UI image view. And with the image, I called it screen, right? Okay, so we can see the IDE is aware of it, so hopefully that's in the right spot and it'll be able to find it. So let's commit that change. One of the reasons that I'm being relatively fastidious about these commits is move info assets. What else did I move? Launch screen. Launcher screen to proof positive. You don't need to be able to type to program. I should be better at this though. Oh, actually, we don't want that. We want that one. That should just revert that automatically. Yeah, you can see those changes went away. Just reopen that just to be sure that we're up to date. Good. Okay. The reason that I'm so fastidious about making sure that I have commit messages for everything is that if we look at our file later and we've got some weird problem with it and we're not sure how to fix it, let's look at the draw view controller because we made a bunch of profound changes to that recently. We can sort of like look at this blame panel and see who did it. In this case, it's always me, but also like sort of what I was doing when that happened. So if I'm like wondering why is this line here, I can take a look at the commit message, and that gives me some indication as to what was going on. So this is just sort of like safeguards to make sure that when I come back to this later, that it's not that it's parsable. Okay, so in resources, we will create a new group, and it will be called strings. Yeah. Okay, and now, okay, so if we go back here, let's just create files for each of these, I guess, and give them each title. Yeah. It's going to take a while. So in our presets here, we can just create a strings file. And I need my list of cards. So I guess we'll go to Safari and open another new window. And we'll go to magic items. there's all our cards again. Actually, so I guess it'd be easier if we just duplicate this over and over and over again. Right? Maybe? This is sun. And if we're going to do that, we should put in... Oh yeah, we should close this blame panel, because that'll do weird things if we're copying stuff. So that's good. We should give these a title. And then do that. This is comments, like this is just a header comment to basically say what's up, but we should try and keep this up to date and not have it be like the wrong title for the wrong file, because that's bad form. Okay, so now we have that sun. Told you this was going to be boring. Why did that... Moon. So originally when I was doing this, I was thinking that all of the cards would be in one strings file, but I think actually that's a really bad idea. I think that why am I not getting the changes? Why is it always copying as what it was before? That's kind of weird. Just want to check and make sure. Just want to make sure that these are all actually being created and they're not like somehow just all referencing the same file. No, it looks like they are. Okay, so let's try just copying the Vizier again. Okay, that one's got a title, so that's good. Star Comets. You can see why I thought this was like great for a bonus stream. So we're a quarter of the way there. I called this The Fates, I think. It would probably make more sense to... No, leave it like that. I was going to say it would probably make more sense to like get rid of the prefixes, but... This is like possibly too dramatic music for what is going on here. It's... Super Castlevania 4 was another great video game, though. and like really long. There's a lot going on in that game. Like they made a lot of content for it right after the Super Nintendo came out. Interesting like notes about Castlevania 4 is it was made by Treasure, or at least it wasn't made by Treasure itself within Konami, because like before Treasure existed, it was a group of people within Konami, and so like a lot of the people who went on to form Treasure worked on a lot of stuff within Konami first. One of the last games they worked on being Super Castlevania 4, which is why Super Castlevania 4 is like so weird as compared to other Castlevania games. Key thrown, because you can like whip in multiple directions, and you can you know, the sprites are just super big, even though they like reuse them in different contexts later on, and they're much smaller. Knights. A lot of the time your strings files like line up with your view controllers, and so like you'll create a new view controller and you'll just create a strings file at the same time, but in this case we just have so much text that it makes kind of more sense to do it this way, and we'll alphabetize these in a sec. Gem. And if I was like wanting to be a little less rude, I could go ahead and work on this off stream and just go and do all the boring things. Just go and do all the boring things on my own time. But I figure, whatever, it's part of the process, so we might as well do it together. And this is actually going like not too bad. Once this part is done, I guess we'll copy and paste the rules text into each of these. And it's possible that I should have... Well, we'll come back to that. It's possible that I should have just created like a rules heading here to fill in before starting to copy and paste everything, but we'll work with what we have. Flames. I do like this playing video game music from my past thing in the background. I like this. It makes me happy. Get used to listening to it, sort of tuning out this kind of music, which is perfect for what we're doing. Hey, Tally's here in the background, sneaking in, trying to pretend that she is not here.
Just, you know, grabbing craft supplies.
Flames. Yeah, she's gone. She's gone already. I will communicate your greetings, though. It's funny. She is very she's very much like, oh, I don't want to get in the way, but I kind of feel like a lot of the time people would like to hear from Tally. I'll talk to her about it later. Like, yeah, when you come in, you can say hello. That is cool. Let me know if I forget one of these too. It's probably helpful. I keep on going back and looking just to make sure that I didn't like forget either the title or the comment. Don John. Okay. I do feel like the showing the whole process is like important in some respects. I mean, everyone does different things, and I've seen like shipping code in actual apps. Like one of the things, so my company is a consultancy. Not I don't own the company, but the company that I work at is a consultancy. So we do apps for hire for all sorts of different people, and one of the things that means is like sometimes you get brought in after someone already has an app, and your directive is to like fix it or remake it. And so I see a lot of other people's code in what I work on, and like a lot of it is of pretty middling quality for code that like actually exists out in the wild. And that's not to like throw shade on people. There are all sorts of reasons that code can be not good. As we were talking about on Friday, when you have your programmers working for 10 hours a day to get something out the door, that's not a recipe for clean code. I don't think programmers are producing their best work after they've been working for more than about 6 hours. Pardon me, it's just too brain intensive. I mean, this obviously isn't, but you've just been staring at a screen for so long, and like trying to figure out convoluted ways of making things work as efficiently as possible. It takes a lot out of you mentally. And also when you're trying to hit a deadline and get something out the door, sometimes you just do things the slow or the faster, less good way, even though it's not a good idea, just because it's faster in the moment, and you make those compromises. And the way that the industry sort of exists now, where everything is venture capital backed and everyone wants a sort of minimum viable product, just something that runs and does what they want it to do, in the most minimal way possible, just like something that can get out the door as quickly as possible. And speed is much more important in some cases than actually quality. That's a priority, and that's a decision that you can make when you are creating something too. Is just to do it the fast, sloppy way, because that's what you care about. So yeah, I'm doing what I think is going to end up being the most efficient way of doing this, and even though it's going to require some upfront work. Okay, so that's our cards. I think that's all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. That's the right number. Okay, we have our 22 cards. Now let's start putting rules into them. I guess let's design with the idea in place that we're going to include other editions of the rules. So let's call this rules.5e. Yeah, the incentives in the current environment are like get it out of the door quickly, because if you want to either have it succeed or fail really quickly, right? So that you can know whether, like, basically if you can get another round of funding, then you can fix it later, and if you can't, then you don't. So yeah, right now the incentives are definitely towards pushing stuff out the door as quickly as possible, which is difficult. Like, it's difficult for people in a company like mine that has a lot of pride in what we do, and that what appears under the hood looks as good as what is outside. That's balance. So like it's tough to like learn to make those compromises and to go with, in our case, is what the client wants to do. But if you're working for one of these companies, it might just be what your employer wants to do, right? Like that's the way that goes. So let's get all of it there. So we'll just put that as a field in all of these. Mm-hmm. As I was saying earlier, I probably should have just done this right off the bat, but it's okay. We're not losing too much time here. And if this can be completely done in an hour for at least the 5th edition rules, that's perfect. We can probably even get the 3rd edition rules in here as well, which would be good because then that means that we can test that more efficiently later. I mean, the other thing is that, you know, maybe you don't have to create a sort of super bespoke, wonderful app every time. Sometimes it's okay to just make the sloppy, you know, app that works sometimes. Certainly this app is like not going to be the best thing. I know that in like an earlier episode, earlier stream, when I started putting strings in, we had exactly this exchange where I started putting strings in, and someone was like, you shouldn't really put strings in your code, you should like put them in a table separately. And I was like, yeah, no, I agree with you, but you know, this is not like something that I'm doing for work. This is something that I'm doing for play, and when it comes down to it, you know, if I put in a 40-hour work week, which is, you know, the sort of usual, then and I'm putting 3 hours a week in on this, I guess like more like 4 for the last couple of weeks. Where did I miss? Flames, Reality's Fabric. No. What did I miss? Uriel is right. Where's Fates? It's the Fates. Oh, because these are alphabetized in the way you would expect. Ha 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 ha. Okay, so Fates. Tricky deck of many things. Tricky. So then Flames is this one. I was glad I caught that when I did. So yeah, if I'm doing 40 hours a week at work, and this is like 3 hours a week, that means at the end of a year, I have put about, you know, a week's worth of time into this, as I would have at work. Like 1 week at work is worth an entire year of Fridays 7 to 10. In terms of the amount of time. So, you know, I'm definitely going to be taking shortcuts in some places for this, because it's just like I don't necessarily have the time to be doing things in the same way as I would do them at work. But I guess something else to consider is like at like at work, the apps that I work on are gigantic, and you might not think that they're gigantic when you look at them, because I guess like a lot of the time it's just like a bunch of tables, but there's like a lot to that. Like there's a lot of programming that goes, a lot of just boilerplate code to write, that goes into creating something like that. But yeah, it's just massive. And like even an app that, pardon me, a normal person might think of as being pretty small, like Instagram, there's a lot going on in that app. Like they have a full team of people who work, you know, 7 days a week maintaining that thing, never mind creating it. So there's a lot going on there. So part of the way that I'm hoping to make this work as like a hobby thing is just by keeping the scope of the apps that I'm working on like super small. Like this, I want to say is not. I would say that we're still pretty far out from being complete on this app. This, by the way, is like something that we'll need to figure out exactly how we want it to handle, because I would like the stats for the avatar of death or the death or whatever it actually ends up being to be in the app somewhere, but I haven't really figured out exactly how I want those to be presented. So I'm just going to leave them out for now. Yeah, keeping the scope really small. So like, this app is, I would say, pretty far out from being where I would be happy releasing it. But in terms of, what's like what it does, it is almost functionally complete already. Right? Like it does it. The whole drawing sequence is in there. The only thing functionally that's missing is the like settings screen and the content, and we're getting the content in there right now. So it's still gonna be a bit, because it definitely looks like garbage now. And one of the reasons that this particular project appeals to me, because right now everything that we've written is pretty standard, like boilerplatey code, is that I'm hoping to do some pretty neat stuff visually with what I've been calling like the Hearthstone hand, or the Magic Duels hand. Because like that's some interesting stuff to do, like doing that kind of layout and interesting animations and things like that. Like that's where the real interest for this project is going to be for me, and that's where we're probably going to end up slowing down a fair bit and spending a great deal of time just working on getting those features just exactly right, so that they look really cool, and so that the user experience is just as good as we can make it. So the basic idea is like do one thing, like make an app that does one pretty simple thing but do it exceedingly well. Call that the mission statement of what we're up to. Okay, so we have a system now where we have all of these different tables. And if we go back to card, okay, so I guess let's say, so we have this method that returns the title. Instead of that, I'm going to do, and this is already backed on a string, so we'll do, what is it? It's like localized string with table. Or is it like title? So this is not. Interesting. I wonder if I'm actually using a convenience method at work and just never realized that I was doing. So if we need to Oh, it's NS. It is still NS localized string. Yeah, that is definitely what I was looking for. Yeah. So we want to use NS localized string. So NS string, NS localized string, etc. are the old uh, the old Objective C classes that are used for things like strings, and sometimes they have functionality that does not exist in the general Swift string class, and the reason for that is partially because like some of the stuff in NS string and whatnot is meant to be like particular to Apple's frameworks and not just like open, because the Swift language is open source now, and they want to have some stuff that is like their tools and some stuff that is open tools. So this will work. We'll just use the NS localized string. So the key that we want is title. The table name is self.raw value. The bundle is main. What the heck is value? I might look this up later because I feel like there is a Swifty way of doing this, but okay. Well, that should already just be working now for all of our cards. So let's see if it does. I also like this, like in Castlevania 4, you've been playing like a lot of it and all of it's like different new music, new everything, and then you start to get to these levels that are like throwbacks to original Castlevania, and they have like original Castlevania music and stuff. And that's super sweet. Come on. Okay. Well, that doesn't work. Okay, so it's not finding the table. Thing is, you only have to set this up once per project, and I haven't actually set it up on a project in a while, so I could be missing something really easy here. See what this person is doing. So this is extending string. So you're passing in the self. Table name is nil. Interesting. So we can actually omit these when calling. interesting. So this isn't like a typo. So it's just getting this key. So I'm pretty sure like whatever we put into yeah. I wonder. I wonder if I actually need to provide like more information here. So like if the table needs to be. Oh. Uh, nope. Hmm. Okay, this is good. You're at least learning something here. Just gonna like do exactly what this person has done here and see what that ends up with. So if we group. So new file. And so here you're using the string itself as the key. You're not providing a table name. I feel like we need to provide a table name though, so that doesn't work because this assumes that you're only going to have one strings file, which is fine and dandy, except for we need multiple strings files. This is using a property list. So yeah, typically with localization, we would actually just use one strings file as opposed to many, but I do think that the better option here is to use many, and I think that's what's messing us up. But theoretically, it's the table name that we should be we should be providing. So to say which of those strings files to use, and I think that theoretically it should just be able to find it in the bundle. Nevertheless, what I'm going to do for now is just leave this and come back to it as a problem to solve on Friday, I think, because I am at the extent of my time and we are going to need to go have baby times. So I think, yeah, I'll come back to this. This is a solvable problem. I'm going to guess that the issue has to do with not getting the table name correct, that we need to actually maybe provide more of a file path for this. I could be wrong about that, but I'll do a little bit more looking into this in between and then come back with a solution. I like to just have magical solutions for everything, but I had thought this was going to be super simple because I knew about this method, even though I didn't know it belonged to NSLocalized string. But I thought this is basically all that we needed to do. So as I say, I'll come back to it. We'll figure it out. I will try and figure it out actually before our next stream, so I don't waste too much time on it, and come back with a solution, because that's the best way of doing that. All right, I'm gonna go because, as I say, yeah, we've got to I've got to get back to baby stuff for a normal Sunday. But thanks so much for joining me, and we will get back to this super fun workflow later on. Now we actually have content, so we should not need to. I'll give you my face back, assuming that I can get my cursor over to there. Haha. yeah, so next time we can hopefully have a solution for that, and we will have content. So that means that the only thing that we'll need to do to get our app to actually show the things that we need it to show is put in the images such as they exist right now. So I'm gonna get. I'll have those in a folder just ready to go for next time because I need to figure out exactly where they are. I have them all somewhere, but they're I think just still spread out around my email. So I'm gonna collate those all into a folder and have them ready to go for next time so we can get the images in, and then we will work on how we're going to display the rules text and then start making the app pretty. I guess we have the option of making the app pretty or getting the multiple editions selector thing working. So I guess that would be the next step, and then making the app pretty. So we're getting there. But thanks for joining me, and I will see you again on Friday. All right. Thanks so much. Goodbye.